Race and ethnicity have many terms to describe them. In order to comprehend what each term means to participants, interviews were conducted. 4 specific questions were asked. After 20 interviews, data was compiled and analyzed. Due to the responses given, it was apparent that there are many ways to define race and ethnicity. Many of the participants gave the same responses to question 1. The majority, being approximately 85%, stated that race was based on skin color and used their own color as their term. The other 15% described race to be the grouping of people based on their social characteristics and qualities, so their terms focused more on large groups and characteristics of that group. Question 2 contained 2 main responses as well. The majority, being 90%, used terms such as heritage, historical background, society, and culture. The other 10% determined that ethnicity is simply a social group that influences behavior in a culture. The main term used here was social group. The reasoning for these answers were overall similar. The first set of data covering the topic of race had many of the same reactions. Some of the participants used the reasons that race is what you can see, meaning race is mostly visual, and that is all. Others thought about race as a deeper sense, considering what goes into determining one's race. From question 1, the results conclude that the participants identify with their race through color, but also through their qualities and characteristics. Participants used their race to explain their social groups too. There was no major difference between races when drawing conclusions. The second question contained the same trend. There was little to no correlation between races. The 2 main terms used to describe ethnicity were nearly similar, along with the reasonings. Several of the participants reasoned with the idea that ethnicity is their background and heritage, because they feel that practicing specific tradition defines the category of people that they associate with. Also, it is determined that many participants identify with their ethnicity through their behavior within their social groups. The definition of both race and ethnicity can be unclear, especially after interviewing several individuals. There was also little to no correlation between the ethnicities. The U.S. Census defines these 2 terms on a more simple scale. The U.S. Census defines race to be a person's identification with one or more social groups. Some examples of this would be Asian, white, or African American. Ethnicity is explained to be whether a person is Hispanic or not. These are the 2 simple categories. These definitions are extremely simple compared to the responses of the participants. Also, in their interviews, some of the trends and patterns of the responses were noted. There seemed to be a trend based on age. Many of the younger participants kept their responses short and simple. The older population fell into the small percentage of responses that were more detailed. The main difference was not among race but age. Also, it was apparent that females elaborated more about their choices, where the males simply stated that they just define it in a particular way with no reason. The data and observations made through ethnography highlighted the definitions of race and ethnicity.